Okay. If you guys can scan this QR code, or if you have trouble scanning this, maybe you can go to menti.com, menti.com, and put this code which is there. Either ways, either you can scan, zoom your camera and scan, or you can go to menti.com and put this code which is 43307591. Okay, we can go back to the Menti. Yeah, can we present it? First slide, can we present? Yeah, great. So I just wanted to do a quick check what kind of people are in the room so that I can try and contextualize my delivery accordingly. So it's better suited for you all. So I think the question is what kind of an organization you represent. Either you are a donor or a grant seeker or a consulting. If you are someone who also raise funds and also sub grants, maybe then whatever is your primary role, you can choose that. Uh, okay, so we have a lot of social impact enterprises. We have a lot of non-profits and grant seekers in the room. Good to have some donors. Good to have some money in the room. Uh, a lot of consulting organizations like us. For folks who have just joined, they may go to menti.com in your browser and type this code. Uh, Good. I think next slide, or maybe you can scan this code. Can we have the next slide? Next Menti slide. Yeah, I just also wanted to check maybe if you can put your organization name. Uh, which organization do you represent? Okay, yeah. So I think we're doing this online, so that everyone knows who are all in the room, and maybe if you want to network later, you guys can do it. Okay. Can we have the next Menti slide? Yeah. So this is like a question again, which will help me uh, contextualize, change the delivery. So I think it's a question which says what is true for you with respect to dashboard and analytics in your own organization, and you can choose one of these. It says, are you struggling? Do you often face difficulty in coming up with indicators? You're not happy. You're able to make informed decisions. We are very new to this world of dashboards. Again, for people who are unable to access this, go to menti.com, menti.com in your browser and type this code, which you see on the screen on the top center. Okay. So we learn from people, and as I think in the previous class, Namita also said, all of us are core learners in this journey, right? Though it says masterclass, I'm not a master here. I'm also looking forward to learn, and I'll really look forward to learn from now 9 folks who have said that ideally, I mean, they are able to make some informed decisions from your dashboard. So maybe I would like some of them to share their experiences for others. Yeah, good. It's a mixed bag. Uh, yeah, just last slide. I'm sorry if I am asking you to do a lot of work, but I think it will really help me. So I think this is the last slide, which I think I wanted to check. What are your expectations from this session? I mean, what is it which you came today with mind that maybe this is what you want to learn, you want to know? Okay, good. Who are the people who are fund givers? Okay, I think a wrong room here. This entire conference is full of donors. Data analysis at ease, best practices, use cases, data management. Will have clarity on dashboard challenges, tool to use to create dashboards. Okay, how data can be presented, learn, listen, ideate. What is the emerging thing about data and dashboards? Better impact planning, decision making tools, and AI. Yes, I was looking forward to AI. Good. There are only 19 responses, 20 now. Yeah, the earlier slide, please. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. I think people who have joined later. I am Swapnil, one of the director and founder at Dhwani Rural Information Systems. We are a 9-year-old organization which work in the sector, helping organization with their everything around data and tech. So I think that today's presentation, largely we wanted to talk about what should be your approach when it comes to dashboard, analytics, visualizations, decision making and all of that. And this is our bias based on our experience of working with whatever, so many nonprofits, so many donors, foundations, and all of that. Next slide, please. These are some of the organizations whom we work with, right? So you see a lot of corporate, CSRs, nonprofits, government, UN agencies, multilaterals, bilaterals, consulting agencies, academic, and all of that. So whatever I would say deliver is all our bias and experiences based on working with such organizations. Yeah, next please. Yeah, so I think whenever we say dashboard, the number one analogy or the layman thing is your car dashboard, right? So I think may I mean maybe the word dashboard in the corporate world or data analysis has come from a car dashboard, right? Now, if you look at a car dashboard, it tells you a lot of things, right? It tells you a real-time speed, what pace you are going with, how much fuel you are left with. Now with new age, whatever, I mean, it's like last 5 years, you can also see what has been your mileage in last 15 days, last 1 year, last 6 months. So it's also trying to tell you something over a period of time, right? So it helps you to also give you early warning. Hey, you are going above 80, above 100, above 120. So it's also give you early warning signals so that things are not going bad, wrong, and you can course correct, right? Now, if you draw this analogy in our day-to-day thing, that's what dashboard should be used for, right? They should tell you how you are going. I mean, whatever are your KPIs, how many beneficiaries, what your field teams are doing, what is your attendance, right? So is the steady state being maintained? How far are you from your target? Where is your goalpost where you are today? What has happened in last 6 months, last 3 months, last 1 year, last 5 years, right? Is there an early warning? You're going too fast. So some negative indicator, some early warning, some alert, so that you have a chance to course correct. So I think that's largely the use of a dashboard, right? And I found analogy of a car dashboard maybe would help you to relate to it. Next slide, please. This is just an AI rendering of what if you combine dashboards, and I just ask an AI to combine a dashboard and an AI and give me something, maybe our future cyber trucks and cyber cars and all of that. Actually, now the cars have all of these things. Yeah, no, next slide, please. Yeah, so I think these were things which we already discussed. So next time when you're trying to design a dashboard, think about what are the questions you want to get answered, right? We'll come to it what kind of dashboards are there. But I think you should start with what is it that your dashboard should tell you. And we already looked at a car dashboard, right? So it should tell you your speed, it should tell you your mileage, how far are you, what is the distance traveled and all of that. So in your case, what is your KPI? What is the milestone where you are, your target versus achievement, whether it is for donor reporting, whether it's for internal reporting, whether it's for government reporting, anything. So what are your key indicators? What is that target? How likely are you to achieve it? Are you going to achieve it, right? Second is trend analysis. You should always get to know where are you today and what has happened over a period of time. So mileage today in this trip is whatever, 20 kilometer per liter, but last 3 months, last 6 months, your average has been this, right? So your dashboard should always tell you today what's happening, and over a period of time, you should be able to see what has happened, right? The third is correlations, outliers, right? So for example, like if you are working with an expecting mother, or if you're working in a nutrition, you should be able to do a vulnerability index. How many children, how many expecting mothers, red, amber, green, so that you know where do you want to focus your energies on, right? Everyone doesn't demand the same kind of time, effort, and everything. So whenever we are designing our dashboard, we should know that what is red. Either it's bad, either it demands more energy, what you should do, right? What is green, what is going well, what is like an amber, right? Real time. It should be like a near real time, right? So that you have a chance to course correct. If something is going wrong, right, you can change your program, you can change your SOPs, you can change your methodology and things like that. So yeah, like I said, we want to cover the basics of a dashboard, an approach of designing a dashboard. We'll get into the technical things, we'll get into the visualizations, Power BI and all of that. I'm sure a lot of you guys would be waiting for that. But I think in our experience, as matured data tech individuals, as matured social impact individuals, we jump onto designing a dashboard without thinking, why do we need that? Right? So I just wanted to start from that. Next, please. Yeah. So I think if you see like an approach of making a dashboard, right? And can I get a next slide before we jump into this? Yeah. So I think if you look at any program today, right? Normally a lot of, everyone like us would start from what data you would want to collect, right? So you would start designing your tools, whatever survey tools or baseline tools or anything, right? That's where we get from. Now in that case, what happens is you don't know what you want to analyze. You haven't figured out that. You are starting with, okay, I want to work with expecting mothers. I want to work in agriculture. So these are the things I want to collect for. And you start designing your whatever data points, data collection mechanisms, and then you go to what you want to analyze. In our view, this approach is wrong. Instead, we should start with in any program or anything is this. What is you want to analyze? What are the questions you want to understand from your MIS, your whatever platform, tool, application you would say, right? Then go back and say, if I want to analyze this indicator, I will need these 5 questions. So you only collect those 5 questions from the ground. Otherwise, what happens is you collect 100 data points, right? And you have a lot of data in your system. It stresses your field teams. It stresses internally everyone. And when all of that data comes together, you are struggling to make sense of it. If you take an alternate approach and start asking everyone in your team, what is it which you want to measure? What is it which you want to know? Going back to your KPIs, real-time correlations, early warning, and do a pen and paper thing. No fancy tools. I'm saying just do a pen and paper thing. What filters, what pages, right? Don't think about today a bar graph or a pie. If you think about a pie, put a pie. Maybe if that pie becomes a sunburst chart, good. But today just put a pie. Just do a very quick and dirty diagram of what kind of indicators you want. Also put what filters, slice and dices you want. Also put which person, which role should have what kind of access, right? So if someone is a state manager, they may have an access to a state. If someone is a health manager, they may only have access to something which is specific to health. So put all of that together and draw a wireframe. And then only go to either your internal tech teams or a tech agency and a tech vendor, because then it's a very clear definition of what you want. And from that, if you trickle down and start designing your MIS or what you call data collection system, it's easy. Otherwise, what happens is you put in your 100 data points, garbage in, and you don't know what to analyze. And it stresses the entire pipeline, your field teams, your systems, and everyone, and it becomes just a data collection exercise, right? Let's go back to the slide. Yeah. So I think, if you start from that end, so wireframing is simple hand-drawn diagrams. And then obviously when you work with a professional like your internal tech teams or any agency, they would convert it into a tool called Figma or an Adobe XD, which is a very nice look and feel of a dashboard. Again, like a layman example would be if tomorrow you want to get your house renovated or built, an architect would give you a 3D diagram. It's very clear of what you want. And then they would convert it into blueprints, and then it would give it to your contractor, and they would do that. So always when you're designing your system, start with a wireframe. Maybe, that's what, if you're not access to professionals, do a hand-drawn thing and then go to that, right? So a typical dashboard journey would start from you identify your data sources. where the data is going to come from, what frequency that data is being updated. Will that data be updated real time, monthly, quarterly? Who is going to update that data? How it will be updated, right? There could be some, if you're combining two data sources, for example, an HRMS data and a finance data. So for example, you would want to know how many people, what salary, and let's say what leaves, and how much work are they doing on the ground. So do these databases have a commonality of a unique ID? For example, like an employee ID. Or if there are two databases and both have a geography which you want to combine, does it say Uttar Pradesh here and does it say UP here? Right? So all of this is important when you look into your data. Then I think what we discussed is indicators, slices, dices, and then you go to the wireframing exercise. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. Now, whenever you are designing dashboards, right? Typically dashboards, I mean, this is one way of looking at it and it could be different ways of looking at it. You can have dashboards at a program level. I'm running a program on agriculture, whatever, like I said, expecting mother, nutrition, and I only want to assess that program. So whatever I am designing, whatever questions I want to get answered is limited to that program. So you have a program level dashboard. A program level dashboard can give you operations. So operations is how many people today on the ground, have they come in, not come in, how many beneficiaries they have profiled, how many outreach number done, how many works. This is all profiling data. I mean, this is ops data. This is my business. I'm sorry to use the word business, but this is what we do day in and out. So I want to know what's happening today. What's happening in Gujarat, what's happening in UP, what's happening in Ahmedabad, this village, that village, block, taluka, everything. This is my ops data. Now you can add an impact layer. You could have a baseline, you can have a midline, you can have an end line, and then you can do it. So a program level, you are having an ops data. A program level, you have an impact data. You combine it with finance. These two donors gave me this much money. How much money is spent, how much money is left. So a program level, you can have your financial utilization. You can have how much money is coming. You can have ops data, you can have impact data. So this is like your program dashboard, right? You move one level up, you have multiple programs like this. You may want to design an org level dashboard, which would feed macro KPIs from each program and put it in an org and say, okay, what is happening in Gujarat across all my programs? Or what is happening with any donor, let's say Bosch India Foundation as a donor across their projects, right? So that's an org level thing. The third is now, which is very important, and this is our experience of. So you all would imagine, I mean, most of you would have experience of developing, integrating several technical systems. It's very easy to build a system. It's very difficult to get it adopted, that everyone is using it, right? So now in all our systems, we are trying to get a user adoption dashboard. So tomorrow you have built a system like an app which is used by 500 field workers on the ground. How do you know how well it is adopted? So you put a small user adoption dashboard and say how many people went online today, how many people spent how much time on that, right? So if someone, a field person from Gujarat is saying, sir, ye app to hang hoti hai, you can tell them that UP guys are spending 30% of their time on the platform. Why are you saying it's not working for you? So you can see who is, I mean, if you see Ola, Uber and all your mainstream, and where are this coming from? This is all coming from the commercial world, right? Today, every commercial app knows how much as an individual I am spending time on what. If I'm going on Swiggy today, they know how much time I spend on the dessert section, how much time I spend on the South Indian section, North Indian section, veg, non-veg, and accordingly they tweak and show me those ads and all of that, right? So they know the user behavior, the user. Similarly, we can also do that. I mean, technically it's very easy. It's just that mindset we need how to do it, right? Last is your data quality dashboards. Now what happens is, you would all understand in our world, data would be inputted either by field teams or by partner NGOs or someone else, right? Now, how do you know which data is correct? I mean, you will have some validations to put in, but you can say, okay, show me the metrics where this correlation is there. Something like, for example, if you know in a village, let's say this is the income and this is the savings, you can put a ratio. that show me all the outliers where income and savings ratio is this much. You know it can't be, right? So you can see the data quality dashboards. Yeah. So if I would again request you for a small this thing. So if this is a like questions, how will you rank them? Considering, I mean, how much do you think they are easy or difficult, right? The first is collecting program data. Second is building dashboards. Third is analyzing donor trends, training staff on data and dashboards. Fifth is decision making. How would you rank it? Again, for people who are new, you can go to menti.com and use this code. You may have to answer few questions before you get to this slide. I think this is what we call it a dashboard pipeline or an ETL pipeline, which stands for extract, transform, and load. Leave the tech jumbo mumbo, okay? I'll try and lay down it for you in a very layman language. So basically, when we are trying to build dashboards, first and foremost, what I said was we have to consider where your data is coming from, right? Now, your data can come from static spreadsheets, which mean an Excel or a Google Docs. It may come from a database if you are already using a platform like a SQL or a MongoDB or whatever platform you're using. We may want to say that if this data is already collected by some government, which we are doing a lot of, let's say, for example, an NFHS data or an NREGA data or a UDICE data or something like that, which is already government is providing. So we can have a lot of APIs. You may using some MIS platforms like an MFORM, our platform, or a Service CTO or a Comcare or an ODK. We can also do some web scraping. Web scraping is where the data is not available like that, and you write some scripts to do that, right? So you may have a lot of ways to collect data. Then what you do is you put it into it's called an ingestion platform, where you can do some transformations. So for example, you can say, okay, wherever you see UP, convert it into Uttar Pradesh. Wherever you see this height and weight, can you calculate BMI? So you can put some automatic scripts and also combine this data set, because one data would be coming from one source, another data would be coming from other source, and you want to combine and look at something, right? So the second ingestion transform happens there. Then you would put it in a database where it is all housed, the collected, combined, collated data. And then you see how do you want to visualize it. So I'll try and give you a playbook. Again, this is our bias and experience, that how do you choose which dashboard tool you should use. So you have three buckets. First is a SaaS commercial tools, which will charge money to you. Now it could be $1, it could be freemium, which is free for 3 users, but later on they'll charge, but essentially they are charging some money. Then you have open source BI tools, which will not charge you money, but you will need some developer or a server to house them. And third are custom dashboards. So the major difference between a custom dashboard and the first and the two is, custom dashboard is something where you would not be able to do anything. You will always have to be dependent on a developer, like a software developer. The first and the second bucket is something which is called BI tools, business intelligence tools, wherein with a slight learning curve, if today you are good with Excel, with a slight learning curve, you can design your own dashboards, right? That's called a BI tool. Now, further, there is a difference of open source and commercial. So I'll come to that. So tomorrow, if you want to develop a dashboard, wherein for whatever reasons, your data cannot go to any other server, right? Then you will have to choose an open source or a custom dashboard, because it cannot go to anyone else. It cannot go to Microsoft, it cannot go to Amazon, it cannot go to Zoho. That's A. Second, if you're working on a dashboard wherein the look and feel is very, very important, and you can't compromise on that. I'm sorry to say this, but for an example, when you're working with government and you want to have a minister's photo like this, and you want to have some colors like this and all of that, you may not get that choice in a BI tool. Then you are not left with anything other than a custom dashboard, right? The third variable how you decide among this is, obviously the cost is there. Custom dashboards are always going to be costly, one time, because they require someone to create it, develop it. And even if you want to change it, you can only depend on a software developer. You can't do it on your own. But in BI tools, anyone can change it and all of that, right? The other part is between open source and commercial is number of users who are going to use the dashboard. And how do you define a user is someone who has a role specific access. So if you have designed a dashboard which is same for everyone, either I use it, anyone else use it, if it is same for everyone, then that person is not a user. A user is someone who has a very specific access to a dashboard. So when I log in, I only see page number 1, I cannot see page number 2, 3 and 4. If someone else logs in, they can see page number 1, but only first section, they can't see another section. So that is a user. So if you're going to buy commercial SaaS platforms, they will charge you $2, $5, $10 per user per month. But if you have 100 such users, then you can go to an open source tool where they don't charge you per user, but you can hire a company who will charge you for a server 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 a month and can host it for you, right? So I think summing up, BI tools is something which gives you a chance to play around and do your own dashboard. Custom dashboard is something where you want some very B2C, D2C, very specific layouts. They're heavy on one time and also customization. Can we have some examples on this? Yeah, next slide. So these are some kind of examples, right? How dashboards can be built. Next, right? This is for Dasra, which we built. This is a fundraising dashboard, which we built for a client. Next. This is again for a client. I'm just trying to, I'm sure you would have seen more fancier dashboards and all of that, but just to get yes, this is kind of a usage dashboard. This is from our partner organization, Dalgo, which is telling which user is doing what, how many visits they have done, how many dashboards they have seen. So you know the adoption. You have developed a fancy dashboard or a fancy application. You have spent so much time, money, energy. Are people actually looking at it and using it? You also want to know that, right? You don't want to call people and saying, how is it going and all of that, right? You can just see a usage and see how it's been used. Next. This is like an exception report, like I said, right? Some outliers. So you can define those rules that this cannot happen. So show me all the things which is happening like that. Next. Yeah. So I think this was all about that. These are some, again, basics of how do you design those dashboards. For a lot of you, it may seem very commonsensical, but I think you all know common sense is not so common. So I think this is important to keep all of these things in mind, right? It should have a clarity, simplicity, should be clutter-free, right? Should have a lot of white spaces. It should not be a lot of dabbas, right? Where you don't know where to focus on, right? Consistent design, simple use of colors, fonts, same. Chart types, you should know when to use what chart type, right? When to use a pie or a histogram or a line or a sunburst. Don't use very fancy and very complex spider web. You may use, but you should know, then also know your audience. Can they interpret that kind of a chart, right? Avoid too many colors, visual overload, CTAs and all of that. Next. Yeah. Before even coming, can you check, is there anything on the Menti which we want to check? Can you go to the Menti? Okay. So last section, I think I know a lot of, next slide. Yeah. So this is I think a last question which I just wanted before we open for Q&A. If you have to prioritize, right, what kind of a dashboard tomorrow you would want to build and what are you struggling with? Is it a program level dashboard? Is it an org level financial dashboard? So program level dashboard we already defined. A financial dashboard which tells you your financial health. How much money is in your bank? How much tranches are due from your which donors? Right? How much money is utilized? In which projects you have gone overboard? Right? Whether you want a donor management dashboard. If your initiatives are volunteering driven, do you need a volunteer dashboard? Which volunteers are active? Which volunteers are doing what? Number of volunteering hours? Or you want a fundraising dashboard? How many proposals have come in? Which donor you haven't replied yet? Which proposal is to be submitted? What is your pipeline? And all of that, right? So I'm sure this was expected, that program level dashboards is something. And in our line of work also, I think I would say 70-80% dashboards which we do are kind of program level dashboards only, right? Last, I think I wanted to talk about AI and analytics. So I think where we are going from an AI part, and this is again our bias, that this dashboard won't exist. So what will happen is, whenever you are talking to someone, like we discussed that ETL pipeline. So there was data sources, then there was transformation, and then there was warehouse. So what will happen is everything will rest at warehouse level. Now, whatever you want to know, you just ask. Now you can either ask by texting, chatting, or whatever you want to call it, or you can ask by voice. So visuals will go away. Why do I want to navigate, click this, and click? So tomorrow if I want to book an Uber, I will say book an Uber to home at 5. That's it. That is what you do when you click an app, right? You open the app, you choose your home, then you say, and all of that, right? I'm sorry, just a minute before you open into QA, right? So I think where the world is going towards, and already we are running examples where you can write in a natural language. So I can say, show me beneficiaries whose MAM is over this, SAM is over this, or anemia levels is over this, just it. And can you give me a report in an itemized form? Can you give me it in a pie graph? Can you give it me in this? Put a filter of this. And system should understand. So what AI is doing for us is it's removing that coding block and that UI block. So that's going to happen. I believe it's 1 year, but it could happen the way the AI is progressing, it could happen much earlier, right? So maybe the talk which I gave today on dashboards and visualizations would be redundant. But I think what I'm trying to tell you and leave a thought with your mind. So I think visualizations, the most important thing in visualizations and dashboard is you should know what questions you want to get answered. So either you do it through a UI like the graphs, or with the world of AI, you should know what I need to ask, right? Then I think that everything back happens. Thank you everyone. I think we'll move to questions now. Yeah. If there's anyone who has a question. Yeah, please. AI. Yeah. Yeah, report or PDF and all of that. Correct. Correct. So I think a natural progression, they will also change. You will say, why do you need a report? This is a chatbot, this is a interface. You ask and that thing will give it to you. So I'm not saying everything will go away from tomorrow or 6 months down the line. This is a natural progression, right? It will require a lot of behavior change and everything, right? I mean, there are a lot of chatbots, OpenAI, but has it happened that everything has been replaced? No, right? So all of that will happen. Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Manisha from Sustain Plus, and I manage monitoring and evaluation for the organization. So done that, been there, done that. When you say AI takes over, and that's a lovely dream because, who doesn't want things to be answered at a, snap of a button? But the fact is, the data quality, both in terms of collection and cleaning, will always be a problem because there's always a human interface there, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you suggest we resolve that? I mean, what can be really done to resolve that? And another thing is when we make these apps, it's so sad for the grassroots partner who is all the time filling 15 apps and he doesn't have an iPhone which has 128 GB, right? Or they have limited. So how do we resolve this issue of so many apps for data collection and obviously the quality of data?
So I think, like I said, so I think it requires a lot of steps. So first is, how do you resolve number of apps? There is no, I think, format of data sharing within our social sector organizations, right? 5 CSRs are working on the same block on the same problem. Everyone is asking the Anganwadi Sahika to do the same damn thing, right? So that's one way of doing it. Second is, which I said, like, even in one app, why do you want to ask 100 questions? Because what is happening is those 100 questions are sitting in your database and then you are scratching your head, how do I make sense of it? So instead, go and find what is your dashboard, and then instead of asking those 100 questions, only ask those 20 questions, which makes sense. And then, which you said, that data validation point, how do you ensure your data quality? You'll have to build in some measures. See, we also have to understand the person on the ground. So I say this, maybe repeating it for 100 times, that data should always be byproduct of your process. So they should feel they are only doing it. They're not collecting data. Today the mindset is, I am going to this house to collect data. No, you're going to this house to do your transaction, and your transaction is to just ask how is it and all of that. As an output or as a byproduct, you are getting that data. So if that narrative has to change. If you go with a mindset, no, I'm collecting data, then all your energy go into data collection. And then you're like, I'm only collecting data, and then all of those things happen, right? I just wanted to get next question. Yeah.
Hi, Swapnil. Thank you. This is Harini from Kotak Education Foundation.
Yeah.
So while a lot of this quantitative data is one part, we use a lot of dashboards and do it. But in our work, there is a huge amount of qualitative data which comes in.
Yeah.
So how does Dhwani work with qualitative data, and what any insights you have for us to keep in mind?
Yeah, so I think I'll say this two worlds. Like we had BC and before Christ and whatever AD. So now I'll say before AI and after AI, right? So before AI, from a qualitative point of view, the only thing you could do is negative sentiments, positive sentiments, word cloud and all of that. Maximum what you could do with a qualitative insights, or at max, if there is an FGD being done, focus group discussion, you could transcribe it and then do a positive, negative word cloud. I think this was the only thing. Now after AI, I think a lot of summarization, a lot of rating, that is possible. So today, I think with ISDM, we are building a data portal wherein there are a lot of quantitative data, which we call as structured data. And there's a lot of unstructured data. Unstructured data means any PDF, any HTML, any document. And if you even search and say, I want to know infant mortality rate in Bihar and UP. Now, from a structured data or a quantitative data, it's very easy to do that. But with the help of AI and what's technically called an RAG pipeline, you can also get into the qualitative data, figure out those keywords, and then get those insights. Does it make sense? Doesn't make, if it makes sense, doesn't make sense, and then put it together and show you and analyze it.
Just one follow-up. Which AI tool would you recommend for
So
this?
it's not AI tool, it's like a whole pipeline. So today AI is not commoditized yet. So like we say Zoho or a Power BI or a Google Docs, I think we are 2-3 years away where we say, can I use a ChatGPT or a Llama or a Meta and all of that. It's not commoditized yet. It's a mix of 5-6 applications. It's still developer level. It has not gone to a consumer level. So that's why I can give a name, but I think I'll do injustice if I just give a name there. So that's why I'm not taking a name. Right? Happy to do an offline thing and tell you how is it. And thank you. Yeah, please.
I just seen that dashboard SaaS.
Dashboard as a service, yeah.
As a service, yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, is there?
Can we get that slide? Gitesh, can we get the dash slide? Yeah, please.
So do we have in the overall non-profit sector or even specifically CSR, do we have a system which, I mean, we have so many layers which I have seen.
Yeah.
So is that the actual scenario, or I mean, it's theoretically you have highlighted that, or is the actual scenario, because the different systems doing so many work?
So I would say we have solved it at an organization level. We haven't solved it at an ecosystem level. So for example, if I am working today with one organization, one non-profit, they are working on 5 programs. Let's say agriculture, education, skilling, whatever, climate and everything. When we talk about DAS as a concept, we have solved for one organization. We haven't solved for the entire ecosystem or the sector.
So that you mean we have customized that for that organization?
For that organization, because every organization works in a different way. Today you might be collecting data on ODK, someone else is doing on Survey CTO, MFORM, someone else is doing on Frappe, Zoho, someone even has a pen and paper thing, right? So all of this is, I mean, everywhere, all over the place at each organization. And within organizations, we have seen there's non-standardization. So for example, education program was started 5 years back. At that time, someone suggested this tool. They are still using that tool. Today, there is a maturity. New program has started. Someone else came in and they said, no, don't use this. Use Dhwani's platform. So now they're using something else. So in one organization, people are using 10 tools. Now the CEO or the trustee or the leadership wants one common dashboard. So if you want to solve for that, this approach is for that. There is no one single standardization the approach is there, but it's not if I have solved for one organization, I can just do a copy paste to another organization. I have to study this, we'll have to solve for it, we'll have to ask them those questions, get that wireframe in place. We will help them, obviously. Then we can only do this. This is just an approach or a framework. This is not a product. Cannot be a product. Because each organization is different. Again, like I said, there are different levels of tech maturity, data maturity within the organization. It's a consulting-led.
Consulting,
Yeah.
I mean, even a static, Excel spreadsheet itself can report to an Excel.
So there's nothing wrong in an Excel dashboard. See, I am not saying we should always get a Power BI or it's nothing wrong in an Excel dashboard. If it is working for you, what's wrong with that?
I mean, the transformation can work in
Yeah.
Excel.
We are not saying Excel is boring or Excel, you should move to a modern. No, I'm not saying that. Whatever is working for you, you should do that. But you should know, is it working for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you. I think our team is here. If anyone wants to do an offline conversation, we're happy to. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. You have a question? We can do it offline. Okay. Thank you.